Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish. It is the Daily Dish, and you're here. That's delightful. Thanks so much for showing up for Transformational Tip Tuesday. And little flash here, news flash. This is a recorded show. This is our last day with kids, so we are going to completely maximize it and enjoy the heck out of it. So thank you so much for your tolerance. Families first. We always do that. We keep that in mind for you. We keep it in mind for our team and for myself. This is how we have our priorities and we keep our boundaries up, right? Thanks for that. Of course, we have a million messages for you today. A lot of you are ordering our Crepe Water. As a matter of fact, Crepe Water, let me just say how excited I am about this product because not only is it effective, it is delicious. How often do you get to say that, right? How often do you get to say that? Well, I never found our L-glutamine to be awful, but doesn't have a flavor. But now it does. We've taken our L-glutamine and we have added to it a little bit of lemon citric acid, a tiny bit of stevia, a little bit of MCT oil. And now we have this marvelous tasting, and I mean just like lemonade, Crepe Water. This is what it looks like. Isn't that exciting? We have that for pre-release. It just shipped yesterday. So as soon as it gets in, we will be shipping it to you. It is /Crepe Water. And I've shared with you how effective this is for knocking out any kind of craving. The science is behind it. And I've used this myself. This is how I cleared up the second bout of dealing with a chocolate addiction. And I have plenty to say about food addictions and plenty to say about the food industry, which I'm really going to get down on today. So buckle up, buttercups, because here it comes. And I also know that it's the incredible feeling of being in control of your life and being in control with what's on the end of your fork and not feeling like, food can actually call your name. It can't. It is, remember that they're just food substances. They don't have power unless you give it power. And then there's other things that come into play. And I'm going to share those with you today because I think it's really important. And some of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about today, I promise you probably haven't heard. Nobody's probably ever explained this to you, and you probably are going to be a little bit blown away. So definitely want to get the show notes. So if you don't get our email or our newsletters, go to savingdinner.com, and today's show notes will be in tomorrow's newsletter. Okay? That's easy. So if you want the information about Crepe Water, which of course you do, go to savingdinner.com/Crepe Water. That simple. Number 2 is we are blowing out our skincare this month. We have some amazing skincare. One of my favorites is our AHA serum. Now, AHA is a fruit acid that helps to take off the dead layers of skin on your face. It's really, really super helpful. And as you can see, if I got close, you see my little scar from when I had the face plant in May. Remember that? The end of May, I face planted into the concrete, unfortunately. And this has been one of the things that's been really helpful because it's just peeled and peeled and peeled. And I've used this AHA, we call it the AHA, and just put it directly on there and then rubbed it right into here. And it really helped with all those little tiny peelies. You know how that does when you're getting through something like that. We have it on a BOGO. So if you buy one, we're going to give you one. Go to savingdinner.com/BOGO. Like that. Fun, fun, fun. And if you hadn't heard, all orders over $300 get free shipping if you live in the lower 48. Isn't that cool? We're doing that as a gift to you to say thank you for looking to us to help supply your needs for supplements. And we don't take that lightly. We want to reward our customers with this kind of thing. So thank you very much. That will automatically happen if you have $300 worth of product in your cart. Yay! And last but not least, well, not last but not least, and something very important, is that our Full Bloom event is coming up next month. It is actually almost exactly a month away. It is on Saturday, July 22nd. So you want to block the day for that. We start at 9 a.m. Eastern and go all the way through the whole day. Breaks for lunch, breaks for potty breaks, etc. But boy, oh boy, when we get the community together, when we have the sisterhood together, it is an incredible time, even if we are meeting virtually. Next year, we're going to meet in person. Won't that be wonderful? Anyway, take a look at that, would you? savingdinner.com/bloom. And lastly, but not leastly, is this week's quote. It's a good way to look at time. And it's, you will never find time for anything. If you want time, you must make time. In other words, you need to figure out how to time block your day so that you can get in the important stuff first. That's the truth. And if you need our time block sheet, by the way, it's a free resource. You can find it at savingdinner.com/time. You can download as many copies as you want and just go ahead and print them out. The instructions are, figure out where all your time is going, and then take a look, see if that might open your eyes and you can figure some stuff out. All right, meanwhile, back at the ranch, we were talking yesterday about cravings and just how elusive they are and how they turn us into emotional eaters and can even push us to the edge of binge eating or addictive eating. And I've been in both camps. And so I spoke about this from not only a nutritionist point of view, but also from a personal point of view. I know the pain associated with that kind of a thing. And it really is kind of the bedrock of the reason why I feel Crepe Water is such an important product, especially if we can stop this vicious cycle. But today I want to talk about the fact that all food is not created equal. We have this notion that everything in moderation is just fine. And every time I see that, I get this little cringe up my spine because everything in moderation isn't fine. Nobody says, hey, just drink a little rat poison. Just in moderation, though, you'll be just fine. Not true. If everything in moderation was fine, that would go across the board. So we know that that is a falsehood, something that we hear all the time. And I also know that there's a lot of people out there who are perpetuating this myth that you should be able to eat certain things in a little bit here and a little bit there. Just 1 ounce of chocolate, they say. Just one little thing of whatever, they say. And I say, would you say that to an alcoholic? Just one little martini, just one little glass of wine, just one beer? Of course not. So addictive patterns can have different substances. The addictive pattern is there, and people with addictions, they just need to know themselves. Is this an addiction, or is this something that I can temper? Is this something that I can deal with? But before we go there, we need to be taking a look at what this whole thing about food addiction is, okay? Because this whole thing with food addiction is quite a deal, and I'm going to really get into the nitty-gritty of it, so buckle up. First of all, understand that in our world, we have a huge, anybody ever been to the grocery store? The amount of stuff that's out there is ridiculous. I remember when I was a kid going into the grocery store, they had like 1 or 2 shelves with chips in them. Now they have a chip aisle that takes up an entire aisle. It's unbelievable. Different sizes, different shapes, tubes of them, bags of them, small bags, short bags, snack bags, long bags. I don't know, just bags and bags and bags and bags. And that's just quite a thing. And as a matter of fact, I have my cousins, Simon and Paul, they're from England. When they come over, they love to go to the grocery store and just take a look at what we Americans astounded at, not only the amount of garbage, but also the variety of garbage that we have, which is true. Cereal has the same kind of a thing. But the path to a clean diet can become greatly obscured by all the stuff falsely labeled all natural, lower in fat, this, that, and the other, all these labelings that mean nothing. When you turn over the box and take a look at the ingredient list, it's horrifying. And unfortunately, there's really not anything that we can do about it. It's just the way it is. But we have to understand the science behind cravings, the science behind adopting a mindful eating practice, and of course, deploying solutions to help with that kind of thing, because cravings are a real deal. Cravings are a thing, and they're not just physiological, they're also psychological. And we got to dig into this, because nobody wants to be pulled into a vicious cycle of eating, overeating, shame that comes with it, guilt that comes with it, vowing to do differently, and then starting over again. Am I right? You know exactly what I'm talking about if you've been there. So let's start. First of all, there's this sugar, salt, and fat kind of a situation. Sugar, salt, and fat in and of, well, sugar, but salt and fat in and of themselves are not bad as long as you've got good salt, as long as you've got good healthy fat. But when it's highly processed and made into highly palatable foods, that's what they're called, they have been engineered by food scientists to make them that way. There's a book called Hooked: Food, Free Will, and How Food Giants Exploit Our Addictions. This is a book by Michael Moss, and he illustrates this point beautifully by how sugar and salt are highly addictive due to the immediate pleasure that they provide in the brain. It's an immediate dopamine hit. You always feel good with that. For a minute anyway, right? We always feel good for the minute. We know what that is. And that's what our brain constantly seeks. It doesn't think about the aftermath. It doesn't think about, all the other stuff. It's just that one hit. Just way like a drug addict does. A heroin addict isn't sitting there on his stuff, unless they're kind of going through the sobriety type of a thing and trying to get sober. They don't really think about how, oh my gosh, I really want to get rid of this habit. They're looking for their next fix. It's the same thing with food, especially this food. But did you know that sugar affects the brain 20 times faster than nicotine? Did you know that? And when we have these highly palatable foods that often have sugar, fat, or salt in them, or a combination of those, and when they're enhanced by engineered flavorings, they're purposely manipulated to addict the human brain. They're purposely engineered to addict the human brain. So you and I are being manipulated and exploited, and their grocery dollar is going to this garbage, with maybe some kind of all natural seasoning on there. So what the food industry calls this are flavor bursts, and it's an intense stimulation that is characteristic of addiction. And the particular potent speed in which this ingredient hits your brain, it's like nothing else on the planet. And it's food, y'all. It's food. So what does that do? Well, there's two things that it does. One, it keeps you eating. The bag of chips is empty. Here you go. And now we're on to the cookies. Keeps you eating. And we have an addiction. And we have binge eating. And we get uncontrollable cravings to go back to that whole vicious cycle of eating like this. And it's not your fault. It's the food. It's the way the food is engineered. It's all of that. So obviously we have to take great big steps aside and stay away from stuff that have ingredients lists this long. You pretty much guaranteed that that's what that's going to be about. But here's the thing, and here's the rub, and here's my opinion, and you're going to get it straight. Your body still hasn't had any nutrition. It's had a whole bunch of empty calories that mean nothing. It's just garbage. And the reason that your hunger hormones are still triggered is your hunger hormones have yet to find any nutrition in that garbage that you might be eating. And so what happens? The body is craving. This is where it gets interesting. Your body is saying, I need the nutrients. And your brain says, okay, here comes the hunger hormones. And then your brain is saying, but give me more of that. Give me more of the chips. Give me more of the cookies. Give me more of the ice cream. Give me more of the fill in the blank. And so you keep eating that, you still keep getting no nutrition, and you keep feeding this vicious cycle. You see how that works? So stepping off of that and stepping into healthy eating, well, it's hard because there's going to be some withdrawal. There's going to be some dealing with cravings. It's going to be a little bit hard. But in order to get there, we have to get away from it. So there's a link then between these cravings, obviously, and food nutrition. Okay, go away. It's my daughter calling me. I'll talk to her later. So what do we need to do with that? We need to look at what is the cycle. The cycle is cravings, caving into the craving, eating the thing, and then keep eating the thing, regretting it later, and then thinking, I'm going to do better. I'll start Monday, and then starting again with the same thing. Well, it's the weekend. I might as well finish it. I remember what I would do. My whole thing was I need to make it gone, and so this huge, candy bar or this big bag of M&Ms or whatever, I'd finish them, even though the roof of my mouth would be bleeding from all those peanut M&Ms, even though I was up to here and I couldn't even taste it anymore. I was numb to it. I figured if I could make it all gone, then I could start fresh. And that's part of the vicious cycle. It messes with you psychologically. It messes with you physically. And then, we wear that, don't we? We wear that. We're sitting on it and it's all around our bellies. So that's a cycle that just becomes absolutely untenable. And at least for me, my whole thought pattern, my thinking was around what am I going to eat next? When am I going to get my fix? Then having that, then eating too much of it, and then making myself almost sick and busting up my mouth or whatever it was that I was doing, feeling terrible, shaming myself, feeling guilty, and then starting over. This time it's going to be different. This time I'm going to get it. I'm going to buy all this healthy food. What happens? So what do we do? Well, we start with how do we bust a craving? I've shown you Crepe Water. Really easy. I'm going to do a video on this to show you how simple it is. It's 4 grams of L-glutamine in 1 scoop. Tastes like lemonade, which is delicious, with a little bit of sweet, not too much, and just the right amount of lemon flavor. It kind of tastes like country time lemonade. Remember that? And you mix it up and down the hatch, and you take it kind of like a dose, and it helps with those cravings in a big, big way. The other thing always that I strongly suggest is that you change some behavior to go with it too. So like for my smokers, I tell the smokers, don't sit at the table after a meal, get up and move around, get up and go take a walk or do something else, because an old behavior sitting there after dinner, smoking a cigarette is connected to what you were doing. So you need to do that. But I have some really good news, because there are some things that we can do to battle a food addiction. As once we get it into our brain, this is what we're dealing with. And, being honest with yourself about what's going on, and that, yeah, this is a food addiction and shucks, kind of a thing. Be honest about it. It's not a big deal. And it is a big deal. But when you're honest about it, and when you're saying, this is what's going on with me, that's when you have clarity to start doing something about it. Until then, you're just pretending. You're pretending everything's great. I've got everything together and I blah, blah, blah. And you don't. And I'm saying this to you because I know, because I've done it. All right. It took me about 20 years to finally come to terms with the fact I'm addicted to food, not just any food, but certain things. I've got a problem. I need to deal with it. And here's some of the things. These are some of the things I did. The first thing was I educated myself on what was out there on this food. These highly palatable foods are highly engineered by food scientists with addictive chemicals to make your brain say, give me more, give me more, give me more. Remember the Lay's commercials from way back when? No one can eat just one. Engineered so that you will do that. And it's not just potato chips. It's not just that. It's anything, pretty much anything that is processed. Of course, they don't do that to your steak. They don't do that to your broccoli, or they don't do that to a salad, do they? Salad dressings, that's another thing entirely. This is why we make our own dressing, ladies and gentlemen, right? So understand the science between food addiction and cravings, and we can do something about it. We can do something about it. And when you recognize the role of sugar and fat, sugar in any form, salt, bad processed salt, and highly palatable foods in any form, well, you get an idea of what you can do. You need to get proactive about it. Number 2 is you have to practice mindful eating. You know, we have mindful mugs. Remember the mindful mugs, y'all? A lot of you have them. This is one of mine, my favorite. I've got Grit Not Quit. I use this I can't have them all in my cupboard, so I have this one looking at me with my pens in it. But a mindful mug teaches you, I'm about to eat. I'm going to be mindful about this. I'm sipping my bone broth. I'm getting ready for a meal. I'm going to think about what's on the end of my fork. I'm going to chew my food, and I'm not going to be distracted and be on my phone or on my computer or sitting at the coffee table eating. Be at the table and practicing mindfulness. We practice mindfulness. Interesting thing that happens. We eat until we are satisfied, not full. And then 10 minutes later, the stretch receptors in our stomachs catch up. And guess what happens? Oh, I'm full now. This is great. There you go. Number 3 is incorporate Crave Water. Okay, if you don't want Crave Water, use L-glutamine. But use Crave Water. It's so much better. You can find that. We've got it. And it's going fast, y'all. It is going fast. And our TikTok people are starting to get a hold of it now. So it's really going to go fast. So if you want it, the initial run is out there, savingdinner.com/Crave Water. Go get it. Number 4 is to create a supportive environment. Well, let me just tell you something. If you're a part of our sisterhood and you are in the Hot Melt Sprint group on Facebook, you know, there's nothing like the support and encouragement of somebody who's doing the same thing that you are. Somebody who's battling the same fights, the same wars, somebody who is trying to make the better choices that you are. Somebody else who understands what it's like to eat in a hot melt kind of a way. Somebody else who understands all of our sprint principles and the way we do things. Go there for support. Get your support. The science is so clear on how much better we do when we are in a supportive community. It's easy to get in. I promise you, I'll let you in. I'm the gatekeeper. I'll let you in, and you'll see the biggest difference. Number 5, we talked about this yesterday, is to manage your emotional triggers. There is emotion connected with this a lot of times. There's a lot of things that, there's a lot of things that make us seek out this kind of stuff. And it's comfort foods, y'all. Comfort foods. That's what we look to. Mashed potatoes and gravy and meatballs and a piece of lemon meringue pie and all of this, and just pigging out on stuff. Because notice we don't really have any kind of sense of food portioning when we're seeking comfort foods. We're just seeking to stuff feelings is what it is. So if we can learn what triggers our cravings, if we can learn to find alternate ways to cope with meditation, journaling, being in a supportive environment, etc., then we're going to have tools in our tool chest, so we're not going to be falling prey to all the stuff that's out there. And number 6 is, if you need to, go get the help. There's nothing wrong with saying, I'm out of control and I don't know what to do. When we say this, that gives us clarity for maybe the first time in forever. And you know what else it gives us? It gives us an opportunity to do something about it. Do something about it. So if you need help, go get help. And by the way, TOPS is an overeaters group. I don't know what it stands for exactly. I know somebody will hear. Really good supportive place for people who are really out of control, kind of a 12-step type of a program. Number 7 is monitor your progress and celebrate your success. This is one of the reasons that we do that is that it helps us to see, because we don't see it day to day. But then when we look overall and say, gosh, look how well I've been doing the last 10 days. This is great. And we celebrate that, we build a new neural pathway. That's what we need to be doing, because that helps us to become better. And number 8, come on. Have a little compassion for yourself. I understand the cycle, but you don't need to shame yourself. You just need to say, okay, I've got a problem here. I've got an issue, but I don't need to be shamed. I don't need to feel less than. I don't need to feel bad. What I need to do is get help. What I need to do is address this. What I need to do is confront this. Because when you do, it sets up a new set of powerful skills that is inside of you that you can use at any time. Okay? It's really important to understand that. And then the last thing that you can do, get mad. The food industry does not have your best interests at heart. When we eat real food and we are cognitive of everything that's in our glass, on our plate, and at the end of our fork, then we are truly in control. Don't let them have the last word. You decide how you're going to eat. And if you're in the middle of the supermarket and picking up packages and reading the backs of, the ingredients and stuff, there's a sign that maybe you're in the wrong place. Because I will tell you, 99% of that stuff is all going to be manipulated in order to hook you in. Eat real food. Eat anti-inflammatory food. Eat the hot melt way. The hot melt way will save you in more than one way. The hot melt way will help clear decks of cravings, of inflammation, of addiction, and clean things up on aisle 5. That's what I have to say about that. All right, there you go. There's today's show in the bag. If you missed any of our announcements, please go to savingdinner.com/announcements. Everything's there. And you can see all the links and what have you for it. And if there's something that you're going to miss out. And just one little sense of urgency here. It's going fast. If you want your Crepe Water, now's the time to get on it. Peace be with you. I appreciate you. I will see you tomorrow for Wise Women's Wednesday live. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.